this meeting of the Standing Committee on Social Development. And my name is Caitlin Cleveland. I'm the MLA for Cam Lake and the chair of this committee. I will now ask members of the committee to introduce themselves for the record, and I will start with the member to my left.
Katrina Knockleby, MLA for Great Slave.
Lisa Semler, MLA for Nuvik Twin Lakes.
And I'll turn the floor over to the phone lines.
Janeway Ellen Armstrong, MLA for Murphy.
Thank you so much. Also in the room with us this evening, we have Kathleen Knutsch, Committee Advisor, Michael Ball, Committee Clerk, Taylor Maxwell, Committee Support Officer Intern, as well as Sheila McPherson, our Law Clerk, joining us this evening. So this evening, the Standing Committee on Social Development is reviewing Bill 48, the Arbitration Act, which is available on the Legislative Assembly website. Bill 48, Arbitration Act, received second reading in the Legislative Assembly on March 30th, 2022, and was referred to the Standing Committee on Social Development for review. Bill 48 replaces the existing Arbitration Act from 1988. The purpose of this update is to modernize old arbitration legislation and bring it in line with international best practices. I will now invite the Honourable R.J. Simpson, Minister of Justice, to deliver any opening remarks on Bill 48. Following the Minister's remarks, committee members may make comments or pose questions of the bill. Minister Simpson, I'd like to invite you to please start by introducing your staff for the record and proceed with your opening remarks on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for inviting us here today to speak to the members of the committee about Bill 48 Arbitration Act. As you mentioned, Bill 48 replaces the existing Arbitration Act with the new, more modern legislation. Today, I have two witnesses with me. Online with me is Mr. Brad Patzer, Assistant Deputy Minister, Attorney General with the Department of Justice. And in the studio with you is Mr. Ian Rennie, Acting Director of Legislation Division, Department of Justice. The current Arbitration Act was enacted decades ago and has benefited from few amendments since that time. The Arbitration Act establishes the default terms of an arbitration agreement made between two parties. Many powers that an arbitrator possesses in other jurisdictions are not currently available in the NWT, meaning arbitration is currently a less attractive dispute resolution mechanism in this jurisdiction. The bill is based substantially on the Uniform Arbitration Act, which was adopted in 2016 by the Uniform Law Conference of Canada. The Uniform Law Conference of Canada provides independent analysis and recommendations for the harmonization and reform of laws in Canada. The proposed new act would also bring the NWT's legislation in line with recent legislation elsewhere in Canada and ensure consistency with prevailing arbitral practices. The bill provides extensive and necessary updates to the law governing arbitration in the NWT, including provisions that will address such things as the commencement and consolidation of arbitral proceedings, jurisdiction of arbitral tribunals, the making of arbitral awards, and awarding of costs, and the termination of arbitral proceedings. The department engaged with other GNWT departments, the NWT branch of the Canadian Bar Association, the Law Society of the Northwest Territories, the Union of Northern Workers, and the Supreme Court of the Northwest Territories on the proposed legislation. Replacing the outdated legislation with a more modern and up-to-date Arbitration Act will give NWT residents more options for resolving disputes without having to go to court. Arbitration is a voluntary process that is more flexible and informal than going to court, and is a good alternative for people to resolve disputes fairly, quickly, and efficiently. This concludes my opening remarks, and we would be pleased to answer any questions that members may have regarding Bill 48. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Simpson, and thank you very much to Mr. Rennie and Mr. Patzer as well for joining us here this evening. Members, do any members have any questions or comments? MLA Knockleby?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Section 3, subsection 5 contemplates that the government may pass regulations that would exempt certain types of government from the Arbitration Act, and I'm just wondering if the Minister could speak a little bit to why they felt that that clause was necessary for this Act. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MLA Knockleby. Minister?
Thank you very much for the question. I will defer this to Mr. Patzer, and if he would like, he may also defer to Mr. Rennie. But through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Patzer. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Patzer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can speak to this generally based on experience in other jurisdictions, such as British Columbia. There are certain agreements as between provinces and territories that may be exempt to the Arbitration Act, and because those agreements contain arbitration provisions themselves, they wouldn't have the arbitration legislation from any particular jurisdiction apply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patzer. Emily Knockleby, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So would it only be then in interprovincial kind of disputes that we'd be looking at that, or is there other instances where that might happen? Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Knockleby. Minister?
Mr. Patzer, thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Mr. Patzer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wouldn't be totally restricted to interprovincial. It could be federal, territorial, provincial. It could also be international.
Thank you, Mr. Patzer. Members, are there any additional questions? Emily Sumler.
Same, I think, section 3.5. Does the government of another jurisdiction include Indigenous governments?
Thank you, Emily Sumler. Minister?
Thank you. I'll just defer all questions along this line to Mr. Patzer. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Patzer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's no reason why I couldn't.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patzer, and thank you for the clarification. Members, are there any additional questions for the Minister in regards to Bill 48? Hearing none, members, this concludes then our public portion of our meeting. Is there a motion to go in camera? Oh, sorry, first of all, thank you, Minister, and thank you to your officials. Are there any more witnesses that would like to make any comments this evening? Committee has received no requests for public comments tonight, so I would like with that for a motion to go in camera, please. Thank you, Emily Sumler. We will move in camera.
Thanks, everyone. Or are we sticking around?